So, I don't really know how to describe this video other than it is a way for me to increase my content output while also decompressing / putting to rest the video. A lot of times when I make videos, there's about half of the video that I wanted to, things that I wanted to put in the video in the original script, about half of it gets cut. And then maybe like a quarter more of it in the video stage, in the editing process, gets cut as well. Yeah, maybe a fifth. We're not going to talk about the fifth. That's fine. Yeah, maybe we will. You're not going to talk about anything. You're not here. So what am I doing? This is meant to be, low quality. It's run down. It's on the second channel, all right? Don't give me any kind of... And the other second channel, I lost the password for. I don't know. So this is a companion piece to the AI Books 2. I don't know what I'm titling it. It's exporting right now. It doesn't matter. I'll make it up as I go along. And there was a lot that didn't make it into this. Like a whole book didn't make it in. Actually, 2 whole books. But I didn't read both of them. It's not that bad. A few jokes didn't make it in, which is a shame because they were cracking good. They weren't. That's why they were removed. I can't believe you fell for that. Of course they weren't good. If they were good, they would be in the video. So the first, I do at some point in the video towards the end, get on a little soapbox like grandstand, as I want to do. And I talk about how it's important that we create things and we fail and we suck because it's the reason why good things are good. It doesn't really matter for this, but one thing I didn't mention was that critiquing them as books doesn't really do anything because there's no point. Like, what is the author going to do? Get better? They don't care. You can critique a book for being hateful or lacking effort or lacking moral substance, proliferating bad ideas. And that is not an indictment on the book, it is an indictment on the author. Because we inherently can only put into books, literature or any form of art, things that we know have experience. I can't put something into a book or a video or anything that I haven't seen or heard or whatever in some form or another. So in a sense, when you critique these books, you're just critiquing the machine. You're not critiquing whoever published them or whoever says that they wrote them because they didn't do anything and they don't care. So it does make the video's point a little bit null and void, but I guess the point of the video is just saying don't buy these books because even if, you are tempted, they're not really worth it at all. It's just random noise in a sense. It's like critiquing the wind. That's too beautiful, though. It's not like critiquing the wind. I'm just thinking about that now. Maybe there is somewhat of a subsect of people that are interacting with this as a way to shield themselves from any serious criticism. And if that's the case, I feel very sorry for them. Letting yourself be vulnerable in a work of art is really important, and I hope that we don't lose that, even though I'm literally seeing it disappear in real time. That was really actually kind of depressing. Anyway, next note. I'm sorry. So, when commentary channels, or really anyone, comics, I guess, or like comedians, when you hone in on something to criticize, when we, collective we, me and the boys, all equally as successful and big. I know that Drew Gooden made a video on the Ice Cube War of the Worlds thing, and spoiler alert, that's probably going to be my next video. It's a film, it's terrible, you know where I'm going. I have an anamorphic lens, for God's sake. Ah, God, I'm so ashamed. Maybe this was a bad idea. When we do these things, so the quality of something, it's like this combination of lines, I guess. My hand's out of frame. So maybe like the acting and usually the production's like a flat low, and like story, like writing and all that kind of stuff, and they're all going along a tangent of a plot. They're plotting along, time on the x-axis or whatever. And at some scenes, it's like the acting's pretty bad. That takes a dip. But the production's fine and the writing's, whatever. It's just the acting and it's not really worth talking about. And then there are those magical moments where, like, just everything plummets and everything goes down. It's terrible. It sinks into the floor. Bad CGI. That kind of stuff. And then we hone in on that because that's interesting and that's something. Because we can't just do the video like in chronological order. That would be terrible for other people. I could do it though. I could pull it off, I think. Like, it's a similar process for talking about books in a sense. We generalize and say the formatting's bad and the story's pretty slow and whatever. And then the examples that we bring up are the peaks or the valleys. It depends on which way you want to phrase it. And these books don't really have that because they're really consistently boring and bad. There's no edgy author behind the scenes, behind the pen, that's like, this will be so cool. And then they write something and it's like, this is terrible. Like, why did the main character just believe in himself and now he can turn into a jet and he's shooting down the bad guys over enemy territory? Like, this was a romance novel 5 seconds ago. What are we doing? That kind of stuff doesn't exist. They don't make those kinds of mistakes. They don't have anything going for them. So that's pretty difficult. There are some obvious things like the chronology thing with Leon where he just shows up again. Like, the machine doesn't understand chronology. And when there's nothing filling up that space, there's no buffer. There's no tangents or anything. So it just kind of goes along each plot point, and sometimes that plot point was supposed to happen a bit later and it doesn't, and that is really interesting to talk about. But nobody says anything crazy. Most of the characters in most of the books don't say much of anything at all. The longest dialogue in all 3 of these books, I want to say, is like maybe 30 words, maybe 25. I guess that's another thing that's difficult to whatever. I've got it in my notes. I can start talking about it now. It's the next point anyway. Something that one of the authors or whatever authors of these books could say is that I'm not the audience for these books, which is kind of fair. I'm not a moron, so I like to think I'm not. So, my brain cells are on 2 different hamster wheels and they're running full kilter. So I'm really not the target audience. But on the other hand, and I didn't feel like this was worth pointing out in the video, I'm very much capable of reading these books. Being dry is not a hindrance to me. I have props with me. I'm not as loosey-goosey as I should be on a second channel. So, for example, I've got so many props. This is Requiem, A Hallucination by Antonio Tabucci. If you've read this, you know this is a crazy book. This is crazy. But it's about the same length as the others. I think it's about 80 pages. It's almost exactly 80 pages. That's it. That's how thick most of these books are. Secret Gate of the Gods was twice this length. But Anaya Hawk is about this length, same with YouTube Kids. This is maybe not for some. For me, this was really difficult to read. It's originally in Portuguese. And if you know anything about Portuguese or Spanish, or I think Spanish. It's that they don't write with quotation marks for some reason. At least some of the time. I'm not sure what the difference would be. So all of the text is... I'm not sure if you can read that. It's full... God damn it. It's like full pages of just raw text. There's no formatting of any kind. And it's... The term a hallucination is spot on. It just rambles, and we change scenes all the time, times of day. Very little is described. People show up randomly, and it is a thrilling book. Thrilling. It's thrilling to read, and I really loved it. It took me a long time to get through. It took me like a day. For 80 pages. It was really, really difficult. I was struggling. I should have scratched marked this. And every single one of those books took way longer to read. Like, it was so draining. It was so draining. And you should appreciate me so much. You should adore me for my work. The books that I've read, not recently, I suppose. Well, I'm reading one. It's called How to Be a Dictator, or something like that, by a guy that I would love to know the name of, but this is supposed to be informal, and I'm not going to look it up. I'm going to show a picture on the screen. That's what this site is for. And he wrote like a 3-piece series on the liberation of China and like the infighting and all that. It's very interesting. The How to Be a Dictator one is great. I'm loving it. It's just gigantic chapters of focusing on a bunch of different dictators and like the individual aspects of their fascism. Like what was different between them, how kind of interconnected they were. I wouldn't say it's a historical book, but it is genuinely very fun to read. It has great moments and really is interesting. A bit below that, in terms of the wetness, a bit above that in terms of dryness, let's go with that, would be a personal account of the Nuremberg trials by Ari Neve, I believe is his name. He was like a lawyer. It doesn't matter. Which is also very interesting, and it goes into all the people at the Nuremberg trials and their life, their history, and then contrast that with how they are in the jail cell, because this man met them and he talked to them and he could the physicality, and it's very, very interesting. But it is so dry sometimes, right? Like, it is dry as a bone. Not my bones. My bones are wet because they're in me right now. It is very skillful and very deft in terms of the writing. It is very flowing and interesting, but at some point you're just going to need to say the term 200,000 firearms going to Bulgaria, blah, 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 this shipment. There are two devils. There are two wolves inside of me, and one of them is the fun history, and the other one is the numbers guy. That happens for a lot of history books. Same with one of my favorite books of all time. It's Chernobyl, history of a tragedy, by Serhii Plocky? Serhii? I'm not gonna even pretend that I know what nationality this man is. It is like this is genuinely a really great book. It is also very dry. It does get to the point where you're just reading a whole page about 17 different Russians arguing and doing stuff behind each other's backs during the construction of the Chernobyl reactor and the infighting and all that kind of stuff. And you can't remember any of their names, and it's saying things like 20 tons of concrete and blah, 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 and how many joules of power. It is the cost that we must pay for lies is this. The cost that we must pay for a good book is just numbers being yelled at me by a crazy man. Those are the books I read, by the way. Like, I read other books. Those aren't the only ones, but that's the trend. I love history books. I love those kinds of just dry informational books. I mean, I don't think they're right. I think I love them. But that's the bar for me. And those are all good books, so it's not, you can't compare them necessarily, but they are dry, they are informational, and they are slow. And I couldn't get through a lot of this stuff. I had to leave a small part of me behind to finish this. I think a 12-year-old version of me is somewhere off in the past. I had to leave him behind just to keep going. It was so brutal. I didn't even know what any of that had to do with what. It doesn't matter. That point that I just did, that was me decompressing. That wasn't for you. I was going to do a bit talking about what type of people kind of use this or do it or whatever. And apart from the obvious of being like kind of lazy. In practice, it's just a lot of speculation and it wasn't very interesting. But one thing I was thinking of was there's a quote that goes around, and to paraphrase, it's if the book you desire doesn't exist, you must write it. Like it is your fate, I guess. It's your responsibility to write it. And I can't help but feel like all of this AI book stuff may catch up people that do not consider themselves to be writers and would rob us, in a sense, of particular literature. A lot of really good books came from people that didn't write. Magician is one of them. Magician is a book that was written by a guy, some blah, blah, blah. I'll put up context. I can't remember it. What if that guy is, born around now and he's a little bit dumber or a little bit more socially anxious and he doesn't want to publish a book, he doesn't want to write one, he just puts it in ChatGPT and we lose that forever. I'm not super worried about that in all reality. I think we're pretty resilient to that, but it does have an effect that is tangible, and that's the books that are coming out have no personal attachment to any of this. Magician was written by a guy that really liked fantasy, and in truth, the world that it's set in and the characters in it are like an offshoot of kind of D&D. But it was like a world that was shared between him and his friends. Like it is so much a part of him that it couldn't have been written by anyone else. And it was so personal. And then there's the Sam Den Hartog, who did the Anaya Hawk. If I'm getting that wrong, I don't care. But the author for Anaya Hawk, has published 300-ish books, I want to say. It's like 1 billion books. The genre is very wildly, and they can't be personal. There can't be that personal attachment. There can't be that love or this desire to bring something to life or to service a community with something or to, if somebody writes a children's book, it's because it's like, that's something they're really passionate about. If you make an AI children's book, you don't really care that much. It's not really that important to you, because if it was, you would have done it right. And that's something I'm a little worried about, is there's just a bunch of books that are not just soulless, but don't even include topics that the author cares about. Author, quotation marks. The lack of personal attachment means as well that all of the genres and all of the books are the same. And not just because it's the AI writing them, or several AI models, or whatever. But they're just chasing trends, is the thing I should be saying. The YouTube Kids one, I didn't mention that because it wasn't really super relevant, and I felt like it was pretty obvious. But that is a very trend-heavy kind of book. It's like, kids are into YouTube, kids like stories about kids doing stuff. put them together, and we get like selling like hotcakes, basically. And Nighthawk is the classic, just detective mystery book that, you know, everyone's mum reads, that kind of stuff. And Secret Gate of the Gods is, in my opinion, it's trying to chase the Da Vinci Code kind of stuff, but it so quickly falls apart because the AI can't write puzzles, so you can't do puzzles. So none of it matters, and you can't do a clever twist. So all the books just feel like fake game that you see in background of TV show, as opposed to a real thing. Oh, and I guess the last point, which I guess has to do with this actually a lot, is nobody has a voice. It's always there was a joke in the original video that was like, it's a puppet show, but I couldn't get it to work. But it is like a puppet show, where it's a puppet show where there isn't a stage, there's no socks, there's nothing, and instead of the puppeteer looking at which puppet is moving and all that kind of stuff, he's just looking at you, and he's just moving his hand like this. It's so plainly obvious that when I was reading it, I couldn't even like just naturally come up with a voice for someone, because it was so obvious it was the same voice, in a sense, the same style of writing the character. When Anaya was talking, I didn't hear a woman. I heard the robot. I heard the machine, the AI model, like a, text-to-speech generator. And every character was like that. Nobody speaks in an accent. I think somebody did, but it was basically, "Hey, John, what's up? I'll see you tomorrow," he said in a thick Irish accent. That's too late, buddy. I've read it, and I'm not rereading it. I will say, if there is one thing this entire video has done, it is affirmed to me that I actually do really like books. I didn't think of myself as much of a reader, and the fact that I only read like non-fiction books about Chernobyl is... I've actually reread that book, by the way. I thought I was just like some freak, and now that I'm done with the video, it's like I need a palate cleanser, or like this matters to me so much. I couldn't stop thinking about literary, like, I was going to talk about Crimes and Punishment, but that's not really like a relevant discuss, although it kind of is. The way that Crimes and Punishment sets up its world is like really interesting and really, it's so dramatic. It's so, by the first page, you're like, these stakes are so high. Anaya Hawke does actually describe the world a lot, and it does describes it. It just talks about the world a lot. It says a lot of words about the world, but it doesn't describe it. And there is one of the books that didn't make it in was like it was like Bards and Baubles or something. Battle Axes and Battle Staves. A Sapphic Adventure. It's basically like a series of books, and the thing is that they're all like high fantasy. I don't know if high fantasy is the word. It's the one with dragons, like D&D stuff, and they're all gay. Not all the characters, all the books are about gay romances. And the book itself, it's the first one, that's the one I read. The book itself is actually pretty decent. If a human had written it, I would have been decently impressed. Kind of. And it's the reason why it didn't make it into the video is because in reality it was kind of neutral, and again, everything good I would have said about it doesn't matter either way, because a person didn't write it in reality, or if they did, it was they edited it. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did write a significant portion of it. A lot of it is pretty good and doesn't feel very like simplistic or AI-ish. But the moments when it crashes, it really crashes. It felt like a different, like the copy editor just went rogue and just started making up paragraphs for no reason. The voice really changed. So I'm not sure how much of that was AI, how much of it is just edited by a person. It's difficult to say, and that obscurity kind of leaves it out by default. But it was by far the best one I had seen and read, and even then, there was still gigantic flaws in it that would make it really difficult to recommend even to somebody that was like, I only want to read AI books. If there was a man out there that refused to read something made by a human, I would still struggle to recommend it to him. We're not there yet, is what I'm saying. Morally, technologically, we've not got the system down. I'm not going to summarize the video. You can go watch it. I'm just here to relax and chill. And I'm in my comfy clothes. I have slippers on. This is great. We should do this more often. I'm reclined. I'm having fun. And the video is just finished exporting. So I'm going to go and edit this. Thanks to the fellas for supporting me. I don't know what you want me to say. Boo! Okay. At least I make myself laugh.